This place is so beautiful. All the footage you're seeing here was shot within 10 minutes of home. So now the question is, why would anybody leave this behind on purpose? The simplest answer I can give is that I need to be closer to my children again. But when is anything ever that simple? So before we start really digging into things, I want to discuss what I consider the stages of recovering from rock bottom. Those are surviving, rebuilding, and thriving. Until certain recent events, I thought I was approaching the stage of thriving. But now I realize that I still have a little bit of rebuilding to do. So that's why we're here. It's about surviving. A little over 2 years ago, I personally hit rock bottom. And I tried to take my own life. We'll probably get into the details throughout this film. But as far as survival goes, failing to take my life was not survival. Because I was in the hospital 17 days, I very easily could have tried again after I got out of the hospital. But I didn't. Instead, I came up here to North Idaho initially to visit my parents. I had not seen them in several years. I needed them. I knew my mom's health wasn't doing well, even though she wasn't communicating much about it. And again, can't overstate how beautiful it is up here, how peaceful it can be. It just made sense. It made sense that this would be the place that I would come to reboot. The one thing that wasn't intended was for me to stay. Isn't it funny how we laugh when something becomes uncomfortable? No matter how far removed I am from that day, it will always be difficult to talk about. As mentioned before, not dying does not equate to surviving. Surviving takes many more steps. Surviving is about getting out of the situation you're in so that you have the ability to recover. And that's the part I would not have been able to do without my support system. This is how it feels to someone who's severely depressed, approaching rock bottom, contemplating suicide, isolation. Sadly enough, it's often self-imposed isolation. There are reasons why someone in such severe distress doesn't reach out to their support system. In my case, and in many other people's cases, it has to do with not wanting to be a burden. So I'm going to talk about my very close friend Matt here. He is a huge part of my support system. He was the first person to visit me in the hospital. I could go on, and you'll learn more about him as this film progresses. There's no way around Matt being a part of it. But the reason I bring him up specifically here is that not long after my own attempt, and him being among those that helped me through the survival stage, another close friend of ours took his own life. Sadly, Josh succeeded. I had already moved up here, and I know how much it hurt to get that news, and to know that, wish that I could have been nearby to hopefully help him out. But Matt is also right in the fact that Josh was at a point where he probably wouldn't have listened. Still, it would have been good to have the opportunity to try. But yeah, I felt the burden of Josh's loss. I still, when I think about him, the love I have for this guy, I still feel burdened by his loss. Matt was a much closer friend to him than I was. They knew each other long before I knew Josh. And Matt was also right there. And Matt's been part of memorials and so forth, since we lost him. And so Matt not only had to deal with the burden of what I did, but soon after he had to deal with the burden of Josh. And then another common friend of ours, John, just a few months ago, took his own life. All of these are burdens that Matt has to carry. Believe me. These are much heavier burdens than the burden that would have come from one of us reaching out to him for help. So, anyone who is considering taking their own life, you need to remember that. And I know sometimes we don't feel loved, sometimes we've convinced ourselves that we're not worthy and that these people don't love us. But the truth is, we all have people who love us. We all have a support system. I would not have survived without mine. Those pictures you just saw represent a very small percentage of my support system. Those are the ones who visited me in the hospital or took part in the job of getting me on a bus out of Houston. There are so many other people that have been and still are a huge part of my support system. And I'm going to try and list them all in the end credits. The point is that no matter how alone we feel or how much we might isolate ourselves, our help is there. It is there. If we allow ourselves to take advantage of it and realize that we're even more of a burden if we harm ourselves or take ourselves away from the world. So, yep, all those people and even more. Again, huge part of my survival. I always knew I was eventually going to have to get into this topic. I tried several times to sit in front of the camera and do so, but each time I ended up breaking down before finishing. So we'll see how this way works. It wasn't long after I came up here to visit that I realized my mom's health had been declining much more rapidly than I expected. She had not been sharing a whole lot, but it became pretty obvious in person. So that was definitely part of the reason I decided to stay. I started job hunting. Within a few days I was hired. I am happy to say that I am with that company now, and I will be transferring to a location down in the Houston area when I move. Some things do work out the way they're supposed to. But anyway, during my first couple weeks at the job, Mom passed away. I don't think I can even describe how it felt to be going through that so soon after my attempt. I'm really proud of the fact that I pulled through it okay. And again, I have to thank that support system. Yesterday, my dad asked me if I wanted to join him in spreading Mom's ashes. He mentioned possibly at the lake, which makes sense. She did love it by the lake. And I'm not sure how I feel about that. He also mentioned the possibility of myself or my brother keeping her urn if we didn't want to do that. And that's kind of where I'm leaning right now, but I don't know what decision I'm going to make over the coming weeks. It's very difficult. This morning I decided to visit the lake down at City Beach. That's also where Mom's favorite restaurant is. It seemed fitting while I'm thinking about this subject. Yeah, I just don't know. I don't know yet. I just don't know. And I'm at a loss for words at the moment. So I'm on my way to visit my friend Tiff and her family today. And this seems like a really good time to start talking about rebuilding. You see, she's been my best friend in this part of the country and like family to me ever since we met about 10 months ago. Gets me thinking. My support system, and we'll probably end up calling the support system the movie by the time we're done because it keeps coming up. But most of them have known me for many years, and they knew me before my downward spiral. And the truth is, any friendships I tried to develop during the downward spiral they didn't go so well. So the fact now that I have this amazing, healthy, supportive friendship really tells me how far along I've come, how much I've rebuilt myself. It's an example of the difference between where I am now and where I was a little over 2 years ago. Just popping in real quick this morning to mention that all my hotels are booked for the drive. I'll be doing it in 5 days. The last 2 days will both be in Texas. God, that state is huge. For me, a huge part of rebuilding was simply getting busy. Getting busy with healthy activities. Getting busy with my new job. Rediscovering things I used to love, like the actual study of filmmaking. How could I live in a place like this without getting busy outside? I had intended to shoot footage at a wildlife management area I used to frequent, but mosquitoes are just too thick there in the summer. So yeah, a busy mind is a mind less likely to be drawn back to what I call the dark places and bad habits. I guess you can see what we're going to be talking about, the topic of the day. So, making amends was important to me during the rebuilding process. I hurt a lot of people on my way down, in the ways we've already discussed, as well as other things that I consider to be ways that extremely depressed people can abuse those closest to them. And of course, it's not intentional, but it happens. And the people that I hurt, the people that love me, they all tell me that amends aren't necessary and that everything, of course, was instantly forgiven. But that doesn't change the fact that I carried guilt. And I had to do a lot of apologizing anyway, even if they said I didn't need to. I felt I needed to. And it wasn't just to them. It was to myself. I had to look in the mirror, not literally, of course, but I had to look at myself and be able to tell myself that it's okay, that all is forgiven. I don't know if people who haven't been in that situation can fully wrap their heads around that, but hopefully so. I honestly don't know a better way to explain it. But being able to release the guilt of pain that I caused others, and honestly, release the guilt for doing what I did to myself. That was vital, an absolutely vital part of rebuilding. The rain is nothing to fear when you become the storm. That quote and the quote at the beginning of the movie from the same song, those philosophies have existed in many forms in many languages for centuries, but the meaning is always the same. That's what Reclamation is about. What I need to do now in order to finish the rebuilding process is to reclaim my life. That's what it comes down to. And that's why I'm headed back to Houston. So it's time to go. Let's get packing. Well, that didn't take as long as I thought. If you're wondering about, if you've been actually paying attention to the dates and notice that today seems a day earlier than I should be leaving, that's because I'm going to go spend my last night in the Pacific Northwest at my friend Tiff's house with her family. So when I leave here today, that's actually where I'm headed, and then I get on the road from there tomorrow. So it's been just a little while since I got on the road. I spent my last night here with Tim and Jackson. I feel bad because after lunch when we got back, I kind of hurried up the goodbyes. I still have a hard time showing emotion face to face with people, and I knew if I went any slower that I'm gonna miss you. We definitely need to plan some visits. So anyway, I'm on my way to Livingston, Montana. That's the end of my first leg. I had a hotel room waiting for me. So it's pretty early in day 2. Just left Livingston, Montana. Didn't talk much to the camera yesterday. I was just kind of dealing with leaving. So something that I talked to some people about recently was the difference between the state I was in when I came up to the Pacific Northwest and the state I'm in now. When I left Texas before, it was basically a rescue, an escape. And I wasn't mentally healthy enough at that time to really process a lot of things emotionally. So I guess you could say I didn't go through a lot of feeling of what was going on in terms of what I left behind. I kind of ended up processing that later, kind of piece by piece as I got healthier. So, well, that's not me anymore. I'm a lot healthier now, and now that I'm a lot healthier, I have to process things. And I guess you could say I did a lot of processing yesterday. And I went through a lot of feeling yesterday. And I'm probably going to go through a lot of feeling as soon as I arrive in Houston and start seeing my loved ones again. So in an effort to save money while planning the trip, instead of driving another hour or so today and going to Cheyenne, I instead booked a much cheaper motel in Wheatland, Wyoming. Wow. All I'm going to say is, if I ever tell anybody anytime that, hey, I'm going to stop in a smaller town so I can get a cheaper hotel or motel, slap me. Just slap me. Well, this shot should look interesting anyway. The wind outside the car is pretty loud right now, so I hope this is picking me up all right. I didn't sleep very well in the, let's face it, shitty hotel last night. So, at least for right now, I don't think I'm going to be talking to the camera too much this morning. I'm just trying to plow through and get some miles in. Today's the longest drive of the entire trip. When all is said and done, I'm going to go to bed tonight right on the New Mexico side of the Texas border. So, see you soon. I've gotten through the Denver traffic, and I'm between Denver and Colorado Springs now. Making pretty good time considering, and can't believe I'm over halfway back. So, a topic I feel like is gonna, especially for people that know everything that went on, kind of gonna be the 900-pound gorilla in the room. Yes, there was someone else that hasn't been mentioned who was a part of the rescue, so to speak. And this person and I had a falling out not long after I got up to Idaho. I am not doing this movie to attack anyone or to talk bad about anybody. So, but I felt it was fair to address that there was one other person. At the same time, that's as far as I'm going to go. As far as I'm concerned, the best thing in these situations is for that person and I to just, at this point, forget that each other exists and just move on with life peacefully. Isn't that the ultimate goal, right? Just peace. So that's where I'm going to leave that issue. The time has come to talk about what reclamation means to me in greater depth. When I said that I realized I had a bit more rebuilding to do, what it basically meant was I wasn't going to be able to start thriving until I reclaimed my life. And that step of reclaiming one's life, it's different for everybody. Depending on, what that means to each individual personally. There are people who would have made it to the stage of thriving by staying in Sandpoint. That wasn't going to work for me. The reason it wasn't going to work for me, well, there's several. One is my kids still live in Texas. And other than my son visiting last summer, I haven't seen them. And quite frankly, as far as I'm concerned, text and email and phone calls, they're just not cutting it. And I'm healthy now, and I need to get back to being a father. I also wasn't seeing a lot of opportunities to continue growing things like my video work. I wasn't finding anything. And that's a pastime outside of my day job that means a lot to me. I mean, I've grown my skills during the last couple years and got a whole lot of new equipment and so forth. But there's definitely a wall. And I just feel like I can live my best life in Houston more than I can do it up in Sandpoint. There's many great things that I got out of Sandpoint, as much as I loved everything I've already been showing off. There was just definitely a limit. I know some people that are close to me might have some concerns about me reclaiming that life down in Houston, because it runs the risk of bringing me around certain people, even if I try to avoid them. And it risks putting me in situations that might seem similar to situations I was in during my last few years down there. But I know that I'm coming back a different person, a healthy person, and someone who's ready to make the right choices. And I hope that's recognized, and whether it is recognized now or not, it's something I know I'm going to prove. I think every bug between Montana and New Mexico found its way to the front of my car. So being that I'm in Texas now, we'll call this the home stretch, it's time to talk a little more about my kids. During my downward spiral, I wasn't much of a father at all. And despite a lot of things that have been said between me and other parties, overall, the responsibility lies on me. And I know that. During this last couple years up in Idaho, while I was rebuilding myself, I was also trying to rebuild those relationships. Granted, long distance, but still. My son and I have come a long way. Like I said, he even visited once. My daughter and I still have a much longer way to go. And hopefully me being closer will give us more opportunities to repair things. All I can do is my best. And hopefully she'll come to see that that's exactly what I'm doing. The one thing I really have to say, though, is that I never abandoned them. There was never any intent like that on my part. And kids, if you're watching this, I love you. Always have. Here I am in the last hotel room of the trip. So tomorrow I will arrive in the Houston area and officially begin reclamation. To be honest, I don't even 100% know what that's going to lead to, or exactly how I'm going to do it. There are a few things specifically lined up that are definitely going to happen. And I have several goals I want to accomplish, which are in the process of being planned. So there are definitely some mysteries still out there. And I think that's a good thing. So, the rain is nothing to fear when you become the storm. Is it? I don't know. I guess it makes sense thematically for me to hit this on the last day when I'm almost there. When I first got back to Houston, I made a point of reconnecting with people naturally without the cameras around. But it wasn't long before I found myself out recording at a show. And the best part at this point is that I got to spend an afternoon with both of my kids.
Happy birthday, dear Derek! It's your birthday! Go for it! Happy birthday to you! Yes!
It's now September 27th, one day after my birthday. So I guess it's been a couple of weeks since I did any real updates, and there's been a reason for that. I've been busy. As you can see, I look a little different now. There's been a bit of a plot twist. When I got, well, let me go back. 2 days before I was set to start at the new store that I transferred to, I stopped in to meet my new general manager. It was then that I was informed that that store was actually being closed. So all that's left is some part-time hours for a little over a month until the store's no more. Obviously, I can't have that. I considered the idea of transferring to one of the stores on the south side of town, which is quite a commute. But I decided that wasn't, I didn't see that as being a good idea for a number of reasons. And I realized I had to find something new. So during the last couple weeks, I've been doing job hunting. Lucky for me, Matt, whose name keeps coming up, works for a really good company, and he recommended me. He felt I would be good for the position. So I've gone through 3/4 of the interview process, and I have my final interview tomorrow morning. Wish me luck. It's been 4 days since I did the final interview, and after 3 very anxiety-ridden days, I got the call back. So pending a drug test, which I know I'm gonna pass, I've got the job. So I'm gonna celebrate tonight by going in there and shooting some video. As you can see, something else that I've loved greatly is event video. Whether it be live music or weddings or really anything. I love shooting event video. I love editing event video. I was not getting opportunities to do event video up in Idaho or Eastern Washington. I know a lot of it had to do with the pandemic, but the fact remained that there were also more opportunities for that down here in Texas. So along with my kids, this is another aspect of my life that I am now getting to reclaim. This hasn't been entirely the glorious reclamation that I often pictured in my head. I've gotten to spend some time with my kids. I've gotten to go, shoot some video and other things that I love. I've definitely gotten the opportunity to reclaim elements of my life. But the job situation has made it a struggle. The new job, I think I mentioned before, has a very stringent interview and hiring process. I went through a number of interviews, and then now I'm waiting on the results of the drug test and background check, which I'm 100% sure is going to be fine. But it's still time, and it's still time waiting. It's still time stuck with the part-time work at the closing store, and it's me wading through a period of financial struggle. This has limited the amount of time I can spend with my kids, because without, providing an itemized list of things, it costs money every time I go to the other side of town to spend an afternoon with them. In order to make sure I've got my bills covered and food and gas for my car, I've had to stay pretty close to home the last few weeks. So while I am excited to start the new job, and I am excited to have that money again, which allows me to do so many other things, the waiting period isn't fun. And yeah. And I know this particular setup is kind of strange, but I don't have a lot of room to work with here, and at some point I had to show off these display shelves, which were my going away gift from Tiff. Yeah, they mean a lot to me. And having them right here to see every time I walk in the room actually helps me through this rough patch. So as much as I've talked about how beautiful it was up in the Pacific Northwest, it is possible to find some beauty here. So as I've mentioned, the process of reclamation hasn't been as glorious as I imagined, but it's still happening, even if not in one of the ways I envisioned. No, I haven't gotten to spend enough time with my kids yet, but I've still seen them. The job situation has been difficult, to say the least, and getting me into orientation to start my new job has had some delays. But one thing I've seen in the last couple weeks is everything I spoke earlier about concerning our support systems. I've seen it play out. Funny thing though is I haven't even asked for help. All I've done is been more open and communicating with those closest to me about what's been going on. And just earlier this week, while having a beer with my friend Brandon, I mentioned what was going on with my delay in starting the new job. Brandon owns an air conditioning repair and installation company. He said, "Hey, why don't you come work for me for a few days?" I didn't even have to ask for help. All I had to do was communicate. Back when I was falling towards rock bottom, I was so scared of being a burden, I didn't even communicate. just being honest about what was going on would probably have gotten me everything I needed to get back on my feet. And now, despite any roadblocks I run into, I feel confident that everything's going to be okay. I'm here today at the Southern Star Brewery to shoot the first ever music video for Bar Rats. Matt's actually right over there playing disc golf while we're waiting for everyone else to get here.
Fuck. Thought it was gonna be easy, man. Take two. Alright.
So the day finally arrived. I just had orientation for my new job, and the boss took me out to lunch. Got my new uniform sitting right there. Things are coming together. So we premiered the Bar Rats music video last night, and my orientation today, and then the big show Saturday the 23rd, which will include, I can't even list off the top of my head the number of close friends will be there. So Reclamation's happening. Even with a few speed bumps, we're still getting there. And you can plan all you want. There's always going to be something. There's just always going to be something. And the moral of this story is that just because something comes up, just because not everything goes to plan, that doesn't mean it's falling apart. You find a way. Use your support systems, do what you got to do, but you can almost always find a way. I almost feel like the rough patches that have come up since I came down here, I almost feel like they're there for a reason. Like, they're giving me another opportunity to demonstrate just that you don't have to go to the dark places. If you use your tools, if you use the gifts you were given, if you are willing to communicate with your support system, it's never over. There's always an answer. It may seem like I'm beating a dead horse, but I'm here right now because I'm hoping that this project will end up helping somebody. One person, 10 people, 100 people, doesn't matter. If I can give even just one person hope, if I can help even one person seek the help they need, then this has all been worth it.
And my place has has kitchen, bathroom, refrigerator, microwave, TV, Wi-Fi, all of it comes with it.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I look forward to seeing it.
Yeah, I will take pictures when I go check it out tomorrow and I'll send it to you.
Great. Well, I'll be able to afford to put gas in my tank and come see you soon, so that's a good thing. Well, I'm about to turn into some heavy traffic, but I just wanted to get back to you.
Alright, have a good day.
You too, buddy.
Alright, bye.
Bye.
Right before you left, I saw you mostly like in the psych ward, going to visit you. And the first time that I came and saw you, they had you real doped up, just trying to make you pacifist for... You were a threat to yourself. And they doped you up to where you weren't a threat to yourself anymore. But in that doping up period, you also became very open and honest about how you were feeling, where normally I feel like you would have thrown up a front. I'm good. Here's my cardboard cutout of what you think I'm supposed to be, and I'm good. And I got to see you, and you were doped up, and you didn't feel the need to throw up that front, and you were just very descriptive and just going into detail about what you just did. And I started crying in front of you, and I don't think you remember that. It felt bad to hear you open up about your hurt like that, and it felt bad to hear that you didn't see my grief in that. I was very vulnerable in that state, and I started crying in front of you and saying how fucked up my life would be if you weren't in it anymore, and it felt like you didn't hear it. And that inspired me to write that song, You Don't Care. Had nothing to do with you not caring. It had to be with you being doped up, just talking to me, just no emotion, just explaining to me in detail, like how you tried to take your life. And I went and visited you afterwards, and I recognized that the meds had worn off, and you were still there, you know. But that first night, it scared the fuck out of me, and it wasn't because you were doped up. It was because when you were doped up, you were being honest and telling us how deeply you hurt, and that hurt me a lot. It hurt to hear you're ever feeling that way, and it hurt to feel that you didn't feel like you could open up to us about it, and that you made a failed attempt, and we got to visit you in the psych ward and hear from you how bad it was because you got caught, you know? And anyone that loved you wanted you the fuck out of here. Go somewhere and clear your head. And some of us threw down, got you a bus ticket and sent you to Idaho. And as an aside note to me personally, I know your mom passed shortly after, and that's a rough thing to go through when you're already at rock bottom and relocating somewhere else. But I think that was a start. The fact that you were there with your mom when she passed, I think it was destiny speaking that you were meant to hit rock bottom, so you got projected into a different course, and you were somewhere important where you needed to be. And I think that kind of helped restructure some of your mind to refocus on what's important. And you lived out there, and you were there for your dad through all that stuff. And we always kept in contact, but you were going hike through the mountains. You were recentering. I think it's Thoreau says, like, to get back out into nature. You find yourself there, you know. I think you kind of relearned and you knew that you recognized what family was again, you know? I can go somewhere and I can fuck up, and I know I got people to fall back on, and I know to listen to them, you know? It seemed like you went out there and you had every experience that you were meant to have out there, and you wanted to come back, and it was honestly nothing else. It was the trust you had in yourself. Coming back, we can see it, we can feel it, we can recognize it, we can appreciate it, and that's what everyone's been looking for.
Yeah.
It's that you know how to look out for yourself again, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I think you reached a point where you didn't know how to look out for yourself, and things got fucking dark. And the best way to find yourself is by reaching out to people that fucking see you and saying, who the fuck am I? Like, why do I need to push through this shit? That's the best thing you can do.
I'm mainly just proud of how you handled yourself during this entire time. Planning out your move. Saving up, working as much as you did before you left. You know, driving all that way by yourself. And getting there, going through struggles, but fighting your ass off to do better and to not have to come back. As much as I know it had to have been tempting, because who wants to go back to the scene of the crime, basically. So I'm just really proud of the way you're handling the entire situation, and I feel really lucky, and I've said it like 50,000 times in this, that I don't even want to say just like your friend and sister, like I'm excited watching. I'm learning. I'm, you know, and I'm like learning on how to handle things better, and you know, because I struggle with handling things a certain way, and I'm learning from you on how to do that, and I feel really, really lucky to be able to witness it, to be able to talk to you about it on our lovely app all the time, and be able to, you know, see your growth. And it just amazes me how you literally are back in a place that I know if I was in your shoes, I would be fighting my PTSD like consistently. And you are just putting it in the back of your head and just keep on going. And now you got a great new job, making those big monies. You know, you're gonna have your own place probably soon. You know, you're already doing filming jobs. Like, that's amazing. You know, you're busting your ass to get somewhere and to not have to leave your kids. I'm really excited to just see you continue to grow and do awesome things. And I mean, you already are, but do even more awesome things. And no matter what, if you have those days where you're down, you know I'm here. And I know when I'm down, you're there for me. And you always know you have a place to escape to if Texas is just a little too much.
Alright, if you know this one, let me know it. This is a little Viking song. It goes out to all our friends and family who's already in Valhalla.
So Derek now compared to Derek before. Derek now is much stronger. You can see it. You can feel it. Derek before had too many demons that he was fighting. I can't be more proud of Derek now. He has taken every step to not only better himself, but to make things better for him and his family. The things that make him very proud. His son, his daughter, his new life, including them. Derek before struggled. But I don't think we have to worry about Derek before. This is all about Derek now. And I love Derek now just as much as I loved Derek before.
Bet you thought the movie was over, didn't you? Well, the movie's almost over, but like anything else in life, the story goes on. You may have noticed at the beginning that I mentioned that I would be getting more into the story behind my attempt, but that didn't happen. Because what I realized is we're here to discuss the future. This is about going forward. My story and what happened to me is uniquely my story. Yours is uniquely your story. And the point is, whether you're approaching rock bottom or you're trying to come back from rock bottom, like I mentioned before, my goal was to hopefully inspire, maybe even provide a few tools based on what I went through. And if this helps even one person, then I've done my job. And one last thing. I know some of the effects, some of the imagery that I've chosen to illustrate things may seem a little over the top and cheesy. But the point of this was never to be subtle. It was to get your attention. Did I succeed?
The rain is nothing to fear when you